Hi, this is Christy with Life Struggles, and today I have a special guest that I'm super excited to hear all about what he has done with his recovery. His name is Jay, and I'd like you to help me welcome him. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Christy. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. It's starting to get cold in Canada, though. Are you guys getting cold out there?
Unfortunately, yes.
Hmm, winter's
I mean,
coming.
it's going to be, I'm Chicago area. We've got
Oh yeah,
the all the wind every day, lots of
yeah,
it, and that makes it twice as cold off the lake. So,
yes. Same deal here. Lake of the
yeah.
Woods, Ontario, cold.
But
Northwestern
it's
Ontario.
beautiful in the summer, huh?
It's actually perception in the mind. It kind of it's just we're going to talk about recovery because of my recovery and stuff, and it's just perception in the mind and the mindset, right? So winter is a beautiful thing too, right? I mean, because you go in the summer, oh, it's too hot, it's plus 30, and then you're like, I wish it was cooler, and then it's winter, and it's like it's too cold. Um,
Never too hot for me.
it's just percent. I mean, it only gets to
Mhm.
plus 40 here, so I mean, it probably gets hotter that way. But it's always perception in the mind and the mindset and how you really look at everything in life, right? Like it's just how is your mindset? Where is your mindset? Are you in tune with yourself? Um, and those are the things that I've taught myself over since I got into recovery, February 11th, 2008. So it's almost been 15 years. February 11th, 2023 will be 15 years.
That's fantastic. Um, just another question about your weather and you're saying this mindset thing, but it's been proven fact that and I'm not sure about Canada. You said you're on the same time frame as us, but the
Yep.
sun is different there than here, whether it's closer or farther away, I don't know. Haven't looked it up. But what time does it get dark there and how long is it dark there?
It's pitch black right now. so it
But what
was,
time does it,
well, like in the wintertime, it'll start around 5,
okay, and
right?
then
And
is it
then
light again
about
about 6,
8 o'clock, 8 in the morning ish,
8?
7:38. Yeah.
Okay. So, there's states like Alaska that at times of the year it's all dark.
Yeah.
And
And Yellowknife too. I used to live in Yellowknife 6 months out of the year. It was completely
okay. And if you look up the stats on those states and countries, their suicide rate is high.
absolutely
And
because of the
and
dark and
that's
not.
not even a perception of mind. That's they're not getting enough sunlight to even give them energy, vitamins or anything. And it's depressing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. 100%.
depressing. So, yeah, I would not want to live there.
It is,
I,
Yellowknife is beautiful. It was a beautiful place, but you're right on the. I mean, I was an active using back then, so I was a mess either way. But
yeah,
so I really didn't know. Like it was just every day was the same to me. But if I'm sitting here thinking about it, I it was like I was duller. Like
mhm,
I felt duller. But like I
right.
said, I was an active addiction, so I was already dull anyway. I was killing everything around me, so it didn't really
I
matter.
probably didn't think about that though, but I mean,
No,
I can like get up and just I don't know, kind of feel like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything today. And if it's sunny out, I can go sit outside for 10 minutes and I feel better. I'm like, okay, ready to go.
absolutely. You're
That's
you're
what the
absolutely
sun
right.
does to me.
Yep.
So, okay. So, where would we like to start? Would you like to tell me about how you got to where you are today, or do you want to just start where you are today and what you're doing? Because it's
Yeah, sure.
totally up
I'll
to
tell
you.
you a little bit about where I mean, I don't want to say everybody's story is the same, but all of us have an addiction of some sort.
Sure.
That's just the truth. And all of us, to a certain degree, run away from ourselves. We put masks on, we hide, we have trauma from childhood, we um, don't want to be ourselves. We'll say we're lonely, because we need somebody else with us because we don't want to be with ourselves. That was my biggest problem. I never, I didn't know how to be with myself. And so
Did you
I
like
would,
yourself?
no, not at all. I didn't like who I was. I went through a name change. I was born Jay Corey. Then I got a name change at around 10 years old to Jay Barnard. So then I fought the identity crisis. Who am I? I failed grade three. Jay Corey went back to grade three. Jay Barnard. So I was just
How are
always,
you able, I'm sorry, how are you able to do that?
well, my parents got married in the summer of after school. So when school got, and then my parent my stepdad adopted and changed the name. So my mom went with his name, which then he then they changed my name. So it happened all over the course of a.
So it wasn't your choice.
No, I was 10 years old. I had no choice in the matter. Um, but at the end of the day,
That's
so
hard
that
though.
that
That's an age where you're going through, you start going through all that stuff. It's earlier and earlier now, I know. It used to be about 12, 11, 12. When your hormones are starting to change and you kind of nobody knows who they are and trying to find themselves. And I don't know, junior high is a
yeah,
difficult age. But I've seen it starting earlier now.
yeah, it definitely. I mean, I have a beautiful daughter who's turning 7 on the 26th, who I'll talk about in a bit. Um,
7 and going on 20.
uh, yeah, pretty much. But you know, she's my only daughter, so I love her to death. She has a sister, that I love to death too. But Destiny is my real daughter.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I just I didn't know who I was, and then the first addiction I found was food, and that's how I killed pain. I would just gorge, and I didn't know why I couldn't stop, and then I'd make myself sick. Um, so that's how I
Oh,
dealt
on
with.
purpose? On
Well,
purpose, you would make
I just
yourself
ate.
sick, or you just got sick from eating too
Yeah,
much?
I just ate, and then I was like, I need to eat more, but I can't, so I'll get sick, and then I'll just eat more, and you know what I mean. So I forced myself sometimes to get sick. Other times I'd just eat too much and get sick. Um, so it was definitely a painkiller for me. Um, and then that wore off, and I found porn and got addicted to porn. Not a lot of people like to talk about porn. It has to be out there because it's probably one of the biggest addictions in the world.
Yeah, let's do
Uh,
talk about that because I have not had anybody yet. You're right. They don't like to talk about that, but there's a lot of it out there.
oh yeah, it's anyway. If you go to it's on your phone. You can go to the bathroom in the restaurant, watch porn. You can do anything. It's there. It's the and back. I mean, back when I got addicted, it was VHS tapes, and I found them in my stepdad's room, and I wondered what this was, and then I saw it, and then I was like, okay, what's? And then I got. So what it did
Couldn't
is
you
it.
get magazines too?
Oh yeah, I didn't have those. He didn't. I found in my stepdad's room, so I never saw magazines, but there was
Okay.
magazines. So it was just the VHS tapes,
But he didn't have magazines.
so it just rolled me into this different perception of life. So when I was watching, I didn't have to worry about life. So I didn't. And then what happened was how I treated women once I started getting into relationships didn't work because it was like I was trying to be something that I wasn't, and which isn't real on TV or on a tape or in a whatever. But that's what I tried to do in order to run away from myself and not understand who I am. So I just got addicted to that, and to switch the mind off of everything that's going on, I'll just watch this, and that's you get lost inside that
Did
world.
that turn into a sex addiction?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, once I got older,
Mhm.
it did, and then once I got obviously into my uh, active addiction past 13, it really became an issue because I became a drug dealer. So then I started leveraging drugs with women, and then I was able to get whatever I want because it was a power thing. Um, and then I had everything I wanted because I had the drugs. I didn't have to be Jay. I was a drug dealer, drunk Jay. So I didn't have to be Jay Corey. I didn't have to be Jay Barnard. I didn't have to be Jay the porno guy. I could hide all these things, but yet I could still get all the things I wanted because I had the power of being a drug dealer. So I was popular because I had drugs and booze all the time and money. Uh, so I wasn't that nerd, that loser, that fat kid that they called me when I was younger, the last kid picked on the team. Nobody wanted to be around me, all that stuff. So I was able to be this different persona and never really sit with who I really was because I didn't know who I really was. So it was
That breaks my heart when you say the fat kid. And I remember back when I was in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. I My dad's side of the family was all tall and lean. That's just the genes. Okay. I ate very well, but I was always super skinny. And I I did not. Have you ever heard of Twiggy?
Quickie.
Twiggy,
No.
female Twiggy. Um, I hadn't either, but the guys in my class that were on the basketball team, and I was a cheerleader, were they would go by me and call me Twiggy.
Does that mean really thin?
Well, I guess so, but Twiggy, I didn't want to go home and tell my parents that I was being made fun of.
Yeah.
Um, And the only reason I knew that it was being made fun of because they would say it in a mocking way and then laugh and walk off. And finally, it was actually my dad that noticed when I came home after a game because I was, like I said, a cheerleader. And he he said, "What's going on with you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I don't know. You seem like you don't like to be at school anymore or at the sports." And I'm like, so I finally told him, these boys kept calling me Twiggy, and I don't know what that means except that it's not good. And my mom was standing there in the kitchen and she heard that and she said, "What?" And she came in and she said, Do you know who Twiggy is?" And I had no idea. It was a model way back when. And she was very thin, but she was a very, very talented, top-notch model.
Oh, there changes the
And
perception.
yeah. And so my dad said, "So the next time they call you Twiggy," after my mom explained that, he said, "You say thank you." And that's it. And he said, "And I bet you they stop." But I can remember for, 2 years being so sad.
Yeah.
And even my aunts, my mom's sisters, when they saw me, would say, "You need to start eating." Like, and my mom would be there, or my dad, they'd say she eats like she's supposed to and she loves food, but I had that gene.
Yeah.
Then they'd
Just
say,
like
"Well,
just like I had the dream, yeah, it just wouldn't. I would just get
the
big.
opposite, but it wasn't anything I was doing on purpose."
No.
But anyway,
And I remember too, like my whole entire like through grade school, I didn't wear a pair of jeans till I was in grade seven. Like I wore sweats, like
mm,
sweats right on through because I was big. So because I was big, they just always I just always wore sweats. And then when the divorce happened, my dad disowned me. So then the father figure left. But thankfully enough, my grandfather was my dad.
your
But it wasn't
grandmother
like
or grandfather?
yeah, like my mom's dad, my grandfather.
Yeah, your
Um,
grandfather. So
but
your dad just up and left
well, it was like we were seeing him every week, then it
every
was
other
every second
weekend,
week,
or
then every third week, and then every fourth week. He was in active addiction. He had an alcoholic and a drug problem, and then one night he was just all messed up and said, "I don't want the kids anymore. I disown them." And then that's where the name change came from Jay Core to Jay
so
Barnard,
he
and
gave up his parental rights?
yeah, at that age, yeah, that all happened around 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
That's
And then he
traumatic.
came back into my life when I was 15, and it was all straight drug dealing. Me and him, that's what it was. There was no love. There was no nothing. We got hammered, and he held the drugs for me, and that was the relationship.
Ouch.
That's how that was for that period of time. My my rock bottom, um, 2005. I tried committing suicide back to back times.
So
Uh,
how old were you then?
it's 25.
25?
Yeah,
Okay.
I tried in 20. I didn't purposely try in 1995. I was running a whole bunch of open water on my snow machine, all high, and water splashed up, and my snow machine sunk, and I fell in frigid cold water
Oh
and
my gosh.
died for a minute and a half. Now I wasn't trying to. Kill myself. Then
Almost happened.
it did happen. It was a minute and a half. It was the first time I ever saw the light coming super fast, and I woke up in the hospital. Told my mom I didn't want to die. I don't remember them pulling me up on the life raft. I don't remember going into. I was dead. I was just dead, and it was. So that was the first encounter with death, and then that's
That wasn't enough, huh? It amazes me how many people go through 2 or 3 times of that, and it's still not enough. But I guess it's
well in
just that time.
2005. Or yeah, I was 25, 2005. It was at that point in my life. I've done very well in MLM. I've always been in MLM. I love network marketing. I love networking. I love connecting. I love making friendships. That's what I love doing. So I've done really well at it. I did really well as top sales guy for a couple of years in a row in the company I was with. But my active addiction got the best of me every single time. And my addiction to women, my addiction to booze, crack, cocaine, anything I could get. Um,
So what was that final thing?
I made a conscious decision that I just didn't want to live. And I just there's nothing to live for anymore. Like I don't have a desire to live. Um, and I had lost the business that I had with my partner that, we were in Hamilton, Ontario. We got promoted out to Barrie, rising above vendors everywhere. And yeah, we lost that. And then I just really had no purpose of living, and I fell far, far into my addiction. And this girl I met at the bar, I took 13 green pills. I snorted one, and the girl that I was seeing at the time that I abused found me in a pile of black puke, barely breathing. She hadn't seen me in 2 weeks. She showed up out of nowhere at midnight. I was on the doorstep, so they rushed me to the hospital, and I got charcoal, and they brought me back to life. Now, when you've
So it
made
wasn't too
that,
late.
so when you make that conscious decision, though, that what, I'm done. And I was like, the day before I actually did it, I was the happiest I'd ever been in my life because I had accepted the fact that I was going to do what I was going to do the next day.
Mhm.
Waking up in the hospital and that not happening
Oh, and that must have been torturous because then you have all the stuff, the side effects and everything from coming off of it.
wasn't even the same as my mind. I didn't know how to, like, I felt like a complete failure already, but now it's like I'm a complete failure because I can't even kill
Can't even
myself.
kill myself.
Then I was like, I have nothing left in the tank. I have nothing left in the tank. I'm 25. I have nothing. My family barely talks to me. I don't know how to have a relationship. I don't have a relationship with myself. I abuse women because of all this stuff. I have tons of this going on. I have no money. I'm running from the cops. I'm hiding. So they let me out 3 days later, and I went and got an ounce of crack and a 60 rye and tried hanging myself.
Oh my goodness.
And
And that failed too.
yeah, I kept trying, and I couldn't. I'd put my head in, and the chair wouldn't let go. And then I ended up turning myself in to the Barrie police and doing a year in penitentiary. I was yelling in the court office, "Do you sure you want to do this?" I was just a mess.
Turn yourself in for what?
Driving while under suspension for the fifth time.
So they were looking for you, and that
Oh
is
yeah.
that what you mean by turning yourself in?
Well, they weren't looking for me. I was on like bail, but I was like, I don't. I was like, well, the only place I'll probably survive is if I go to jail. At
Okay.
the state I was in after trying to kill myself, then 3 days later trying to hang myself, and now I'm like, the only place I can go is jail. So I physically went and turned myself in before my court date, all
So I have
messed
a
up.
question for you. When you go to jail like that, do they help you come down off of drugs?
Not back then.
But some people can die if
Yeah,
what, depending on what they're taking.
yeah. I was in rough shape for 30 days in
Must
there
have
just
been hell.
shaking. It was complete hell.
And they don't give you anything for that? I bet you they do today, though.
No, no. So they might, but we'll talk about that because I've tried to get hyper recovery coaching into the jail system, which is
Mhm.
the program I built. But And then I got out of jail, and the cycle just kept continuing. I ended up getting busted 2 times with possession of the purpose of trafficking cocaine with the intent. So I had 5 possessions of the purpose of trafficking cocaine by the time I was 27. Um, and January 7th, 2008 was the last time I got busted, and the last time I had a drink. I haven't had a drink since January 7th, 2008. Um, and I was looking at 5 years. I was looking at 5 years, and I was basically just gonna be in jail. And then Wednesday came for bail, and the judge was sick, and they gave me bail with a whack of conditions. I had a bracelet. I had to sign in. And I was like, "Yeah, I did it again," right? Because I'm messing the system. All I need to do is I just got to beat the system. That's it. I just got to beat the system. And if I can beat the system, I got a chance at killing myself. I just got to beat the system. Um,
I do have one question for you, if I can interrupt you. In all this time that you were doing these things, what was your mother and your stepfather doing?
well, my mother enabled me because of the guilt she had with my father. My
Uh-huh.
stepfather and I never really had a relationship. Um, we still don't to this day. I mean, he called me a couple weeks ago to tell me that his mom passed away and stuff. Like, so he knows he can call me. We just don't talk to each other. Um, I haven't talked to my real dad in 10 years. We live in the same city. He's never met my daughter. Um,
Do you see him? Like, do you see
oh
him?
yeah, I see him. Yeah, yeah. We just don't talk. Just how it is. I accepted the fact. So I get into January 7th, and then they tell me to go to a counselor, all this stuff. And then she says to me, "Hey Jay, I think there's one house left on the block as treatment. I don't think you're going to succeed, but it's God driven. I think you should go there."
Gee,
And I
that's
was
a
like,
nice thing to say,
"Well, I'm like, why would you send me somewhere where I'm not, I'm a big failure. Why are you going to send me somewhere?" But what I
right?
realized then is that she was planting the seed. I needed a seed planted so that I could show somebody that I could do something because I had no belief in myself. That's how she got the belief. That's how I saw belief from her. She had a belief in me because she thought I was going to fail. So I had to prove her wrong, even though I didn't want to go, even though all that stuff. And I was like, "Why are you doing it?" But so through all this time in recovery, um, that little inkling of a seed was the fact that I had to prove her wrong. But it was different because I had to prove it to myself. But she had started the motion because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't even know who I was. That was the inkling in my mind that she believed in me.
I kind of disagree with somebody saying something like that, because it could go the opposite way.
It could, and she rolled the
And
dice on it.
fortunately for you, yeah, it worked.
And me and her talk, and she said, "Jay, I would have never, I never talked to people like I talked to you, but you needed to hear it that way." Fair enough. I get it today. I sure didn't get it back 15 years ago. But I understand what she was trying to do, and nobody could get through to me. Like that was nobody could get through to me. That's how it was, and that's how she got through to me. And so February 11th, 2008 was when I started the journey. The last time I used was on the 10th, and I went to Ottawa, Ontario, to the Anchorage Boost Center at the Salvation Army, and I'd never gone to treatment, so I didn't know what treatment was, right? Like I thought it was just take a bunch of pills, sleep for 4 months. I never thought I was going to get a burger again. I didn't know what they fed you. I thought it was like, so I get off the plane, I go to Harvey's, I pack in burgers because I don't know if I'm going to have a burger. I get, I don't know these things that are going to happen to me because I've never done this. And the cab driver drops me off. He goes, "Oh, it's over there." And I'm walking over to this place, and all these people are asking me, "Do you want crack? Do you want cocaine? Do you want weed?" I'm like, "Where am I? I thought I was going to treatment." And I'm like, "How am I gonna like right away?" Like I was like, "She's right. I'm gonna fail." Like that's what I said to my.
We're
So I go
setting you up
in,
for failure, huh?
right. So I go in, and I said, "I'm here for treatment." Oh, they're like, this is the shelter." I was like, "Oh, thank God," because I got asked, like, by this point I'm vibing because it's been almost, a day since I used, like, a 12-hour span. And they're like, "Oh, it's just down the street." down the street to me is like a couple blocks. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Literally, it was next door. I'm like,
really.
how how am I gonna? Anyway, so I go in, and they ask me, "Have you used?" No, no, I haven't used. Right, denial. And then they P test and say, "Yes, I used." Um, and they're like, "You're gonna have to go spend 72 hours next door and dry out." I'm like, I can't. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not coming back here if you send me over there. Like like you send me over to the shelter. The first person I see with this little bit of money in my pocket, I'm gonna start smoking crack, and this cycle is gonna start again, and it's game over. I'm in a new place, so it's a free for all now.
I
Um,
know that's how the places here used to be. I think you had to have over 24 hours of not testing anything before they would let you come in.
and I was like, I honestly didn't hear that, and maybe I did, because I was a mess. That last 30 days, I used as much drugs as I could possibly use, uh, and they obviously said it on the phone. I just never heard it. Um, and so the chaplain said, "Well, maybe he didn't hear it. Let's give him a chance." So all through my life, I've had different times in my life where people said, "Hey, let's give him a chance. Hey, we see something." Even Judge Frazier, the judge, before, a couple times before I went to treatment, Jay, you're in the fork in your life. You can go this way or you can go this way. You're a really good guy. You're a cook. You're going to be somebody. You're going to go somewhere. You can do this. Where did I go? That way. So I had all these different times in my life where chances came in and chances and which are opportunities. I didn't know what to do with opportunity. It was one of those things that I was very scared of, had a lot of fear, false evidence appearing real. I had a whole bunch of stories built inside my head around opportunity, which wasn't true. Um, and so that's when the journey started, was February 11th, 2008. I haven't had a single anything since then, complete abstinence.
So how
And
long were you in the recovery center?
so it was a 4 month program, and I ended up staying an extra month and a half. I didn't I didn't like the fact that they said graduation, because I didn't understand. I was like, how am I graduating from a treatment? Am I graduating to be a bigger drug dealer or a bigger addict or a bigger alcoholic, or like what's graduate? How do I graduate? What do you mean graduation? Because in my mind, graduation meant I'm going to get drunk, I'm going to use, I'm going to mess up, I'm going to get with a lot of
So
like all
that's
the
where your mind was still?
well, the words, right? So recovery has to be a change of your perception of words and how you use things. To me, graduation meant that at that point in my life.
Mhm.
So I said, I'm not leaving. I got to stay here. I'm going to go mess up. And at that point, they're like, okay, Jay. And I said, I need to find a word in the dictionary that makes sense to me for me to leave. And
So what
I
was that word?
transitioning. I was transitioning myself into society. I was transitioning myself into getting to know myself, doing laundry, getting a job, paying bills, $66,000 in unpaid fines, trying to get my life license back, learning how to live, learning how to eat. So I was transitioning into this new person, which then I could harness and understand. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm literally transitioning into this new. I'm not graduating from anything, because if I'm graduating, I'm just going to walk to the liquor store over there, the drug dealer next door, and go get messed up. But if I'm transitioning, I can walk up and down these streets by these people, because that's what I'm doing. I was like, holy cow, man, that's a good word, Jay.
It
Um,
is.
and so I held on to it, and then I moved into sober living, into the.
I love that. So up until a year ago, I did not know there were sober living houses because we didn't have them around here. But it's only because that's not my world. So I just never heard of them. Come to find out, when I started podcasting and I was starting to look for sponsors near me, there was all kinds of sober houses.
Yeah, second
All kinds.
stage they called back then too. So second stage, so you'd go from first stage to second stage sober living, which was the
I
Liberty
know.
House.
I've interviewed a couple people that after 5 years they're still living in sober houses because they love it. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's some.
they have to pay rent and all that, but they just really like the environment. And I guess it depends on you should listen to Brian the Kid. Have you heard his podcast before?
Oh,
It's Hell's an Exit.
no.
He's from Florida, and All he does is interview addicts in Florida. Okay. And I don't mean that as a minute thing, that it's a little thing because Florida's a big state.
Yep.
Um, now anyway, long story short, obviously he was an addict and this is what he chose to do with his life. He's got now, and I don't want to mess this up. Been a while since I've interviewed him, but I believe there's 4 centers, um, recovery centers, and he opened those up, and then 3 and 3, so 6 sober houses, and he's got some in Florida and some in California.
Nice.
So he goes back and forth. But and I want to know if this is something that you went into because I thought it was a really good idea. Um, the sober houses that he has, or I'm sorry, the recovery centers have basketball gyms, swimming pools, indoor swimming pools, all this stuff. And I said, wow, that sounds like a vacation. And he said, you'd have to understand an addict, that an addict needs to be busy. And he said, anyway, in my mind, I always had to be busy to not start this stinking thinking or, want to go use or whatever. So he said, that's what I give them is something to do all the time in between meetings, and workshops and whatever. So do you have any of those around you like that?
So my stuff is my stuff was traditional. So you talk 12 steps, AA, NA.
Right.
That's
They
obviously
have
where
that too.
yeah,
Right.
that's where I started off. And I did go to the gym and swim. I still go to the gym. Um,
Everybody that's a recovering addict goes to the gym. That's one of their biggest things.
well, it's good for the mind. It's really good
It
mental
is. It is. I go to the gym
and swimming
and I
too.
feel great.
Exactly. Same way, right? And
Mind thing.
I started going I kept going all the way through, even when I was in sober in the Liberty House, which a mentor there who I still speak to today, he's got over 30 years. He taught me a different way. I was still going to AA and NA. I went to AA for a year and I did the 12 steps, had a sponsor. Came out of there just, I still didn't know who J was. Like, my name's only 3 letters. How come I don't know the letter J? I understood powerlessness, understood unmanageability, understood higher power, understood inventory, character defects, understood. I didn't understand, you know, making an amends. So I should be making an amends to myself before I make an amends to anybody else. I shouldn't be running to my mom and saying, Mom, I'm sorry for all the stuff that I did to you. Because if my mom says no, that's going to give me an excuse to go use. And so I go on a relapse. So, anyways, um, I then went into NA and did the NA program, which is the same program as AA, same 12 steps, just different
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
And came out of there in year 2 going, how come I still don't know Jay yet? And I didn't know Jay. I didn't know who Jay was. Um, and then I was introduced to a relationship coach. And it was the first time in my life I did coaching. And I never understood coaching. I thought like, you want me to pay you money for you to tell me something or help me with something? That seems like you're taking me for something, right? That's what I thought. Um, and as I'm working through that, I'm like, holy cow, you spent $10 million on drugs and stuff for over 20 years. Like, it was $1,000. That relationship coach, when I put in the interest in the investment into myself, was completely different. I was hanging on every word she was saying. I was a sponge. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to learn everything. I needed to, I just became this person that needed to learn about myself. And, a big part of it is that I put in $1,000 of my own money for this person to teach me this stuff that they knew. Um, Whereas when I went to the AA and NA, those are free places for me to go. But I found myself in the back on my phone, not listening to the meeting or the stories or connecting, or I was outside and I wouldn't go in the meeting and I'd go back and say I went to the meeting, and a lot of manipulation going on when I was going to those places because of my own mind. I didn't want to be here, but I had to be here. They told me I had to be here. If I don't be here, I'm going to be relapsed and all this stuff. Um, so I identified 6 things when I was with this relationship coach. You'll never hear me say I'm an addict and an alcoholic because I'm not one today. I'm in long-term recovery, recovering from a vast majority of things. 2 of those things inside of the vast majority of things is alcohol and drugs. But I have more things in alcohol and drugs that I'm recovering from, and the biggest one is my thinking. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it wasn't the drugs and alcohol that was the problem because the porn came before that, the food came before that, the lying, the manipulation came before that, the conning, right? So I don't call myself an addict or an alcoholic. I stopped in 2011. I also found that when I would say, "Hi, my name is Jay, I'm an alcoholic," I was living in the past, so preoccupied about spent time. I was really spending all my time in past. So I was preoccupying myself with things that happened in the past, which never allowed me to get to the now, the present, the living part. Um, so that's the acronym I use for past is preoccupied about spent time because I would just sit there and I'd share the war stories. I'd share about the drinking. I'd share about how shitty my life was, what happened to me in my life. I'd never focus on anything that was positive in my life. Then when I said, and then I would also say to myself, whoa, when am I going to relapse? When am I going to have a drink? I can't go around people that drink. I can't go to a wedding. Can't go to a concert. Can't go here. Can't go. What's life? I can't go on a cruise. I can't. Like these are the things I would say. And then when I say, hi, my name is Jim, an addict, I'd be this, I can't go down back alleys. I can't go over here. I can't go over there. I'm going to go. These are the things that went through my mind. So when I say to myself, I'm in long-term recovery.
But just a minute. What I was doing, I wasn't ignoring you. I was listening to you. I was looking up the 12 steps because I thought I remembered. I'm just backing up to when you said um, about going to your mom to ask for forgiveness and you hadn't even forgiven yourself yet.
Yep.
I thought that that was one of the 12 steps was forgiving yourself. That's what I was doing. So that's why I was looking up because I thought that was up at the top, but it's not, it doesn't say that.
No, there's nothing in there that says that you make an amends to yourself. It says you make an amends to other people
Well, I
first.
knew that. I knew
And then you
that,
go
but I
make an
thought,
amends to other people, and you don't go make an amends to them if it harms you or the other person. So you can make a direct amends, or you make an amends with your higher power. So you're not going to go make an amends with somebody if you're going to get in a big fight, because now you're just going to get in a big fight, right? But where inside of all that does it say make an amends to yourself first, which I never understood.
for
But
some
that's part of
reason, I thought it did. Because I am a life coach and I'm forever saying, of course, I don't deal with alcohol and drugs because I tried that once.
Yep.
That's what I wanted to be. Like I said, I got out of school and thought I was going to save the world. And the first job they gave me as a counselor, the state gave me a court-appointed alcohol and drug. So I go in and I'm going to save these people, right? Well, first of all, they're court appointed. They don't even want to be there. That wasn't their choice. They had
Well,
to
and they
be
got to
there.
save themselves.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, that was part of their sentence. And you know what I'm saying? They had to go through these programs and then, get on whatever. But
But it's funny
I,
you bring that up, though, right? See how messed up society is.
uh-huh. And here's the thing. I've already told you that I don't use alcohol or drugs, right? I didn't say that I don't have an addiction. I do. Um, but I lived amongst drug and alcohol all my life. And I, and I learned at a very early age not to enable. Um, I watched my mother enable. And so I could see, like as a teen, I could see like my younger brother who, like, I think he started at 10, 9 or 10, smoking pot. And I could see the moment he walked in the door that he was high. His whole personality changed. Actually, it was better because he was so angry. So when he, smoked some pot, he came in and he was all mellow and nice. So that was the first thing I always noticed. Not that he was mean to me, it wasn't me. He was mad at my mom remarrying, and his dad not being around because she wouldn't let them be around dad. I was older. I was 8 years older than him. Um, So I would notice these things, but the first thing I said to him was, you know, that that's not always going to work.
True story.
You're going to need something bigger than that to keep covering up the pain. So why don't we just go get counseling? And I knew the problems that he was having. I lived them too. Not all of his, because he was a lot younger. And my age, I could make my own decisions. I could go see my dad when I wanted to, and all that. Um, but anyway, he insisted that no, that doesn't lead to harder drugs. Well, about 2 years later, he was, into the cocaine and heroin and just I think he's only been clean 4 years now, and he's 51.
Good for him.
But all those years, he went through marriages and destroying families, and my mom still continued till the day she died of, he would be in a bad end of town, and he'd let like a user take his car to go get drugs, so they would give him free drugs, and they wouldn't come back with his car, and he was stuck, and he would call her and say, come get me. And she would go to the worst ends of the city where all the stuff was happening to pick him up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I found out she was doing that, I'm like, you need to call me, because I did not want her. Like, he wasn't thinking, he didn't care where she went to get him. He just, you don't think about other people when you're high.
No.
You just think about yourself. And I'm thinking, I'm going to lose my mom. Somebody's going to stab her, kill her. That's the areas that he was in. And so I said to her, you don't go by yourself anymore. If he calls you, and first of all, I told her not to go get him, but she said, that's my baby, and I feel responsible, because I caused this, like your mom felt, right?
Same thing.
And so I'm going to do everything to help him. And I'm like, but you're not helping him, right?
Well, it becomes an addiction on their part, right? So the
Yeah.
addiction is, I feel guilty. I'm full of, all this
Well, I
stuff.
feel
So
better if I'm helping him now.
yeah,
But
I think that's my help, but I'm actually keeping them sick and I'm sick. So it's a
right.
double sick.
So I tried to convince her not to go. But if she was going to go, she insisted on going. Then I'm like, then you call me and I'm going to be with you, because I'm not letting you go by yourself. Um, and the day that she was dying, I called him and said, you need to get here. And he came, he had to get high first to come. And I was so mad at him. So
Well,
mad at him.
that's the only way that he could deal with it, right? So
I know. Well, I don't give him excuses. I never have. He's
no,
called me when he's been homeless and said, sis, I need your help. And I'm like, you gonna go into recovery? I'm not. No, I'm not helping you.
no,
That's how I am. Okay. But that's because I watched it all my life, that the other way didn't work. Okay.
totally
So
get it.
what I wanted to finish telling you was, so as going into this place where I was going to be this counselor and help these people, the first thing, and it was mostly men at the time, there was a few women, but it was mostly men. And I didn't, number one, speak their language. Um, so, the F bomb left and right and blah, 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 blah. That wasn't me then. But the other thing was, they asked me, so how long have you been a recovering addict? And I said, I'm not a recovering addict. Um, oh, well, did you do alcohol? Did you do drugs? No. Well, then you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know how we feel. And I said, I know I don't know how you feel. I don't think anybody knows how another person feels unless you tell them, right? Like, everybody doesn't feel the same. But I've watched it all of my life, and I know what not to do to help you. And they hated me. They hated me. And I hated going in there every night. They mocked me, they made fun of me. They wanted a male and they wanted a male that said, fuck this and fuck that and whatever, and that wasn't me. So I went and said, apparently this wasn't supposed to be my job.
Well, I got like in the treatment center, Giovanna was my counselor, and she was the first person that I had talked to, and she was a recovering addict of like 20 years that related with me. So because of
And,
that relation
and
part,
today I believe that you probably do need to experience those things to understand. I still understand because
100% you do. You
I
the
do
people that are
because
around.
and because you know what? I would ask my brother, my sister, I would ask them like why do you keep doing this? What does this stuff do for you? I mean, so I knew every drug that he was taking and how it made him feel and my sister, why she was drinking and how it made her feel. And so I didn't feel it. I was afraid of it. I knew that it was addiction in our family and I was afraid to pick it up. So that's just me being a chicken.
Well, no, you saw it and you didn't want to be what you saw, which is like
No,
a
I
positive.
didn't. I didn't, but I'm telling you, I was afraid of it.
I had many counselors that didn't use that I wouldn't say a thing to. Um,
And that's what I'm saying. So,
I guess too. I mean, but I was messed up too, right? So because I was messed up, I wasn't looking for help. So why would I talk to you anyway? I'm here because I got told to be here. Like I'm not gonna.
well, see, and that's what I'm saying. That's what they were saying, I'm not here because I want to be. I was told I have to be.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing than somebody making a choice to go get help.
And I never made the choice to go get help, but through the process of it, somehow by me, I don't know, 15 years almost.
You made the choice
She
because,
said that I should go. I had to go. It was either that. So my options were stay in jail or go to treatment.
right, but
So
you
I went.
turned yourself in, remember?
But yeah, but this is back. So that was in 2005. So when I got busted in
Okay.
2007, they let me
Okay.
out. The judge was there and put me on a whack of conditions. So it was either, okay, Jay, stay on these whack of conditions with this bracelet on your ankle and do all this stuff, or go to this treatment center, get the ankle bracelet off. Where am I going to go? So
Okay,
I went.
so what you're really telling me then is even though you were forced to go, there was one thing that was said to you that made you decide that you were going to win,
Yeah, Sandy said that I was going to fail.
that you were going to fail. So, and somebody else would, take that as you're right, I'm going to fail because I always fail if they're failed. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's what I said. I said, why would you send me to somewhere where I'd fail? Because I failed my whole life. And what was interesting about the whole transition into second stage and seeing a different form of recovery versus a 12-step program and really learning what relapse is. You have a mental relapse actually before you pick up. Most people think a relapse is you just drink. No, you're actually planning your relapse out before it happens. You're actually drinking before you actually drink. You're actually sexercising before you actually sex. You're actually eating the food. You're picking up the sugar. You're doing all those things before it happens. But you got to identify and be aware that you're doing those things. But that other programs don't teach you that. They say you relapse, so you have to these things anyway. So I
Well,
got
we
taught.
got to get into your program then. I'm excited to hear what that is.
So, but that's where I kind of started getting so essentially hype was starting to get built like with Bob because he was teaching me a different recovery. Um, and so because it was different, I
Now,
was like,
was this your sponsor?
no, he was the guy that ran the house. So he was the
Okay.
guy that ran the sober house.
Okay.
But it was different than a sponsor. Um, and then I get there, I get myself enrolled back into college. I go to follow my dream to be a chef. At 9 months, I have to go
So
back to.
culinary school, is that what you went
Yeah,
to?
yeah. I went to Algonquin College to become a chef, Red Seal chef. And but I had to deal with these charges. I was looking at 5 years in prison. So at 9 months, I had to go back to Kenora to deal with this stuff. And I had accepted the fact that I did the crime, I got to do the time. So, and which was a big pill for me to swallow in the aspect of, I was like, Kim, I'm only 28, gonna do 4.5 years, maybe four. I'll get out. I'll be 32. I'll have almost 5 years. Maybe I got a life. So I went back, and even my lawyer said, I don't know which way this is gonna go. I mean, you're up on your fifth charge of cocaine. Yes, you got 9 months. Yes, you've been doing good. Yes, you've somehow managed to change it around, but I honestly don't know. It's 50-50. You could go to jail, or we'll see what Judge Frazier says. Um, and I wore a suit. First time I ever wore a suit to court. I used to always wear the ripped jeans and gray, and that's what Judge Frazier said. He said,
Do you
"Where's
think that makes a difference? Because I've heard they always tell you to make sure that you clean yourself up before you go.
I think I was at a point in my life where I wanted to be cleaned up. So before I didn't care what I looked like in court because that
I
was my
get that. I'm just wondering if you think that really has any.
I don't know if I know it made me feel good. I know it made me feel good when I walked into that same court office, that courthouse, that same property that I'd been going to for, 18 years. And I was actually in a suit versus ripped jeans, yelling, screaming, all that other stuff. I felt like I was doing some work on myself. I knew I felt like I was doing some kind of change. I knew I wasn't that same Jay that was there.
So then
Uh,
do you think that would make you talk differently than to the judge?
Absolutely, because he said,
Yeah.
you're saying yes, sir, no, sir. Your whole everything has changed. He said, Jay, I've never seen anybody work so hard to get their life back in 9 months. You got to understand, I've been here a long time. And a 5 year sentence turned to 18 months of probation, and 18 months of probation. And he allowed me to go back to Ottawa to fulfill my dream to become a chef.
That's
So
nice.
essentially, I get goosebumps every time I talk about this because Judge Frazier is watching over me now, and he saw something in me that I had never saw in myself way before then. When he told me, Jay, there's a V in the road. You got to go this way. Jay, he tried to give me chance after chance after chance, and for whatever reason, when Sandy, said, you got this option to go to treatment, and he said, yeah, Judge Frazier had to approve it, and I went. He still had that belief. He still had that belief in me before I even had the belief in myself. And at that point in my life, I understood if you help yourself, other people are willing to help you. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was helping myself. And because I was helping myself, other people were willing to help me get better, get to my dreams and my goals, my successes, whatever they may be. Um, and I had a real appreciation for the judicial system because I always looked at it as a bad place. Like they always wanted to do bad things to me and put me away. And, I never wanted to take responsibility that I was doing the crime and I'm going to do the time. And so I had a real appreciation for the fact that they wanted to me actually for me to be somebody in life. But it wasn't about them wanting me to be somebody in life. It was about, Jay, you can be somebody in life. So this is
Right.
about you believing in you, Jay. This isn't about us believing in you. Yes, we had to believe in you before you could believe in yourself. Just like I coach, I see things in people way before they see anything in themselves. That's why I do what I do. Um, and And then just the road to recovery began. I got to get into college. I got to play with food. I started calling myself Chef Recovery. I started building, I had my first crack at a TV show. I was called Redemption Cafe. Um, and then I really went full out on advocacy when it became mental health, alcoholism, drug addiction, my newfound life through what today is hype, and breaking away out of the box. Right, I jumped right out of the top of the box. I had no fear. I wanted this life beyond recovery. I just didn't want to be a guy that I got to get to a meeting. Oh my god, if I don't get to a meeting, oh my god, I'm going to do this. Oh my, I got to call my sponsor. Oh my god, what step am I? Oh my, I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to. I wanted a life. I wanted a life beyond recovery. I wanted to be able to go where I want to go. I'm not going to go sit in a heroin house because that's not what I'll do. But I'll go to an all inclusive resort and have the best time of my life. That doesn't mean I got to drink, but
Right.
people won't go there because they think they'll relapse. No, you don't understand it. You're relapsing way before, so you're probably on the plane going, man, I can't wait to get there because now all these things, right? Um, and
I
just
would
think,
think, this is just my opinion, but early on, when you just first get out of recovery, that it would probably be a smart thing not to go in those environments
Well,
or be
I
around.
wouldn't go in there in the first year or two, but I
That's
started
what
going
I'm
to
saying.
concerts and things.
Like if somebody talked to me about it, I would suggest in the first couple of years that they stay out of the places that,
Or go with somebody that is,
or be with somebody
yeah.
that is, there's a lot that you have to give up, and I understand that. But once you're through that, then you see where, you know what, I can still go to those places and have fun and not get drunk or not get high.
Problem is with people is they don't do that switch. So they don't do that switch. That's why the statistics are so low on people that actually get a life. So if you go
Right,
look at the statistics in the rooms of how many people, and so, what's the definition of success? The definition of success for me is if you're doing better 2 hours ago than you are right now, you're doing
right
well.
now. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the statistics are just a statistic. Why do they even focus on the fact that only 5% of people come out of there successful? Well, no, they come out of there successful in whatever their success is. So if their success is, that's why I never understood when somebody's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 days, 9 days, hours, years, whatever, and they say, I lost my recovery. How did you lose your recovery? You were there for 6 years, you did not pick up or use. So you did something for 6 years that allowed you not to pick up, use, do whatever you were addicted to. All you did was move your date. You didn't lose anything because whatever you did in that period of time, you stayed.
So does that mean that you don't use the word relapse?
Uh, I do we do relapse prevention, but when you do relapse prevention, you got to understand what relapse is. So when you're doing relapse inside of other programs, they don't talk about it's the mental relapse before the actual picking up. They talk about a relapse as you went out and used, you lost everything, start from day one, blah blah blah.
Start from, right.
So
Um,
essentially, maybe you can say you started at day one, but you're not at day one because you got this 6 years, and if that 6 years is there, you did something for 6 years. You just got to look at what went wrong for you to do what you did. And most times, you're scared of yourself. That's why you went and did what you did. You figured out an excuse that allowed you and your brain to do what you did. So this is where hype comes in, and before hype, I got to be a celebrity chef and do a whole bunch of things for Wayne Gretzky and William Shatner, and I got to really live out this dream while I was living hype. I didn't want to bring this program to people if I wasn't going to be, if I didn't see the change come in me through this, and I stepped away from AA and NA and stuff like that. I didn't go. I
wasn't
just
for you, or
yeah, I wanted I wanted a life beyond recovery. And I didn't see a life beyond recovery there. I support the places there. I send people there. I love those places. They gave me my life, but today it's not my life. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that there's other options of recovery. And I think that's what the world needs to hear today is there's different options for recovery. There just isn't one way to recover. Not every shoe fits the same foot. My foot's bigger than your foot. My foot's smaller than your foot. So I'm going to go get different shoes, different socks, different curls, hats, everything. But the stigma and barriers and stress that come around the whole recovery thing, that's why people are so um, you know
so
stuck in.
let me ask you this. We haven't really got into your program, but in your program, do you have counselors? And I don't, I mean,
So we're called peer-to-peer recovery coaches.
so
So
you don't have actual counsel, because what I'm
anybody
thinking
that
of
went to
is,
school, somebody went to school. No, my schooling is my lived experience. So we're lived experience peer-to-peer recovery coaches. So yes, the people that went to school, that's great. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. But for me, the lived experience side, it shines out more when it comes to what I'm trying to accomplish and what I'm trying to bring to the world, and we have brought it to the world. So peer-to-peer recovery coaches is what we are. We have myself, my wife, who's Ashley. We're Canada's recovery couple. We have Brooke, we have Bob, and we have Sabrina. Sabrina got into recovery when she was 17. She's more than half her life now. She's 18 years into this thing. Um, so yeah, we're peer-to-peer recovery coaches. I tried to do social science or social whatever to become a counselor, and I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of work.
the only reason I ask that, because I believe that whoever experienced all those things knows how to help somebody that does. But you made a point of it's not like the drinking or being in that situation that makes us go back to it. It's our thoughts. So, and that's what I'm talking about is I think people that end up, they always, in my age, they always called it like fell off the wagon.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of it. Um, was because they still didn't deal with the problems to begin with.
Yeah,
Okay.
they ran. They
So
just kept.
that's what so
Yeah.
that's why I was asking so it didn't really matter if it was a certified life coach or, somebody
Well, you
with a
get a lot of
degree.
issues that you get a lot of. So myself, I
I
get a
just
lot
want to
of.
know if they deal with those parts, like
So
what's
I get a lot of.
causing
So I get a lot of issues as a peer-to-peer recovery coach because I don't have quote unquote schooling. So somebody like me that's why I launched my own company. Right. So
right,
I would go to be, periods in my life. I'm like, hey, there's a counselor position. I fit that role really good. I can work with
right,
people. Jay, where's your
right.
school? I have this many years of lived experience. I have this. I have this. I can really relate to Jay. Where's your schooling? So I just always get Jay, where's your school? And I still do to this
Where's
day.
my schooling? 15 years of doing everything
Right,
I
but that's not a resume for people, which is
did.
really really weird. But that's why I'm changing the language, and that's why I'm changing the narrative, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. I got big enough balls to change and try and do changes,
I
and
love that.
so I work through hype, and people are asking me, at that point I didn't even call it hype. I was calling it help my personal effort. That's what I was calling it. And I was like,
So,
I'm just
so explain to me what the hype is.
So hype stands for help your personal effort. So I was working on myself the time when I was in Fort McMurray being a celebrity chef, and people were like, "You're so happy, it's so much success. What's going on?" And I was like, "I'm just working on myself. Just I didn't want to tell anybody what I was doing because I had put this program together after seeing that relationship coach and identified six and another six things. So essentially 12 things that I wasn't getting in any other program. So I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody what this is unless I really start seeing changes in myself. I'm not going to go help somebody to ruin their lives. I want to see people excel. I want to see
Right,
people be the
right.
best they can be. And then one night I just got out of bed and went, hype. I was like, wait a second, help your personal effort. I'm like, holy shit, help your personal effort. Wait, hype.
I like that.
I can be the hype man. I could be the hype man. Um, and yeah, I was like, man, I got an acronym and a name. That's
Right.
slick. So I was like, okay. And then from
And a name you liked using.
yeah, and because I'm always hyped up, right? And
Yeah.
um, so
Found
the
yourself.
yeah, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. How am I going to make this? How am I going to deliver this? So I just started, and then all of a sudden I started becoming a motivational speaker, and I started traveling across Canada and getting booked to speak, and I was sharing about this newfound life through these first six things that are in the Journey to 30, which is our 6-week program and sessions, which Journey to 30, we talk about thinking, thoughts, patterns, triggers, series of events, and boundaries. Um, that's the first six sessions in hype. And I started going around talking about this newfound life and this newfound, and they always ask, aren't you an alcoholic and an addict? I said, no, I'm not. I'm in long-term recovery. Inside of my vast majority of things that I'm recovering from, there is alcohol and drugs, but no, I'm not an alcoholic or an addict today. What do you mean? Oh, I'm not an alcoholic or an addict today. I'm in long-term recovery. But what else are you only recovering from drugs and alcohol? Was that your only issue? Well, no. Oh, okay. So what are the other issues that you have? Right? Because you don't want to get underneath it. So you want to just say the drugs are the problem. The drinking's no. It's a symptom of the problem. But so then I started talking, and I ended up coming back to Kenora, and I had a beautiful daughter by the name of Destiny, who's 7 now. I never thought I was going to have a kid. I did it later in life. I was 35, but she is the reason why my heart beats, because now I understand what true, I know what true love is, because I love, not, this is not selfish. I love myself for who I am. But I know what true love is when you have a little girl that comes running out of school, daddy, I love you, and just wants to be with you. she's my little mini me. She yells recovery rocks. People want to see her on TikTok, and like she just gives all this, she knows all about it. I'm wide open with her about suicide and drug addiction, anxiety, depression. She knows she can talk to me. That's where the conversations have to start. Um, and
Thank
then
you. I always ask people to reiterate that because I am constantly telling people that, well, first of all, I believe that um, parents need to be more aware and quit enabling, quit thinking their child wouldn't do this. I mean, I
well,
have three,
it's about I think
but
it's
you
about
have to pay attention.
but it's the difficulty of talking about it when you don't know how to talk about it. So it's the difficultness of, coming to the realization that maybe my son or daughter or my mom or dad is dealing with this. What do I do? Right? Like, what do I do? Um, so the conversation stayed in the closet for a very, very long time. Like, I never talked about it when I was a kid.
Well,
you
no,
know,
but I'm saying that that's where I think parents need to be more aware of what's going on so that they can start talking.
Absolutely. They need to have
No,
lived experience people in schools, just like I had a guidance counselor. They need a lived experience person in the school talking to them about this nonstop.
absolutely.
And that's what my mission and my goal in life really is, along with the team. Um, After, my ex and I broke up and we're still really, we understand that it's destiny. So, we put everything aside and we give our daughter the best possible life along with Shanika, which is her daughter. And then I found the love of my life, which is Ashley. So I got really lucky on the aspect of, Ashley just celebrated 3 years herself. And we
Did
didn't
you
know each
meet her
other.
from recovery?
She was told about me through a friend. We never
Okay.
knew each other, and she was celebrating uh, 3 months or 6 months. 3 months, and I wanted to give her my 3 month my 3 month chip.
Yeah,
And she came over to my house, and she just didn't understand why I was happy and full of sunshine and all these things. And she's like, I don't see this in the rooms. Why is it so dull and all this stuff? And I said, I don't go to the rooms. I have a different program. And it really started off with recovery for Ashley and I. And it was never about, me or her hooking up or anything like that. It kind of just morphed into that. And and then I was like, hey, you want to be Canada's recovery couple and do a TV show and this couple and show people that people in recovery can be in love and it's okay to be with somebody in recovery. Don't listen to the bullshit out there about the 13 stepping and all this other stuff. And because Ashley understands me. I understand Ashley. Ashley knows what I'm going through before I know what I'm going through, and I know what Ashley's going through before she knows what she's going through. Because of that, we're able to communicate. And because we're able to communicate, there's no hidden agenda. There's no lying. There's no cheating. There's no manipulating. There's just honesty, love, kindness, compassion, and both of us wanting each other to succeed, which is the first time I've ever had in my life. Um, and then I opened up my own business called Freshwater Cuisine. I started
now where
creating
was this at?
in Kenora, Ontario.
In
Um,
Kenora.
yeah, in 2015, which I created products from the waste of fish. We became one in five top businesses in all of Ontario. I was a leader in innovation. I was a top. The government of Canada recognized me as a leader and as an entrepreneur. All these things started coming, and then the pandemic came, and I had to close my business. August 21st, I made one of the toughest decisions in my life, which was to close the business after losing oodles amount of money. I could have sat in a place of real badness. I'm not saying I didn't go through a difficult time because I lost a lot of money. Life is not about money, it's about how rich I am inside. It doesn't matter about the paper. But I could have sat in a real difficult spot. But I decided to do the PPT, which is position, pivot, and timing. And I saw it at the right time to launch Hype. Um, and I wanted to launch Hype online and I wanted to reach the world. So because I knew that the wait times in treatment were long, I knew that people calling the crisis hotline weren't getting the help they needed. I knew the hospitals were backed up. I knew if I could just reach people online through my website, growing organically, doing discovery calls, not making it clinical. So when you call, you get a free discovery call with us, and I discover where you're at, what you're doing, where you want to go. I present you the two programs. Which one do you want to take? Do you want to take the whole 90 or do you want to take the 30? And then from there, we start working on
So
it.
is there a charge?
Yep, there is. Yeah.
And do you have a program if somebody didn't have the money to like,
I have done, so over the last year, we just celebrated 1 year. So October 18th, 2021, we launched on my 5,000 days of being in long-term recovery. So
congratulations?
it was a massive accomplishment for me and the team, because without Brooke and without Ashley and Bob and Sabrina and all the contributions that they gave to making a dream of mine come true, which I had in 2011, I would never have this dream that we have today that I'm able to talk about and help. So we've done 500 discovery calls, over 500 discovery calls in this year. We've brought 35 people through the program, paid people through the program. We've helped people from USA to Australia to UK to, I got a big following in UK, obviously Canada, Hawaii. And I've also paid it forward, meaning that I have brought people in the program and not charged them that needed help. Obviously, I can't do everybody because I need to make a living.
Right.
Um, at the end of the day, but I have brought through 15 people, and
Well, you have to pay the bills of the center and your
well,
employees and that.
it's all I don't have a center. It's all through online, so I do it all
Oh,
through
it's
right.
all online.
Yeah.
So
So
you do Zoom? Is that what you do?
yeah, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to break down the barriers and stigma and stress that it takes people to ask for help. So, you know, a lot of people call, Jay, I'm a single mom. I can't go to treatment. I'm going to lose my kid. Where's my kid going to go? I'm a single father. Jay, I don't want to lose my job. So we're able to come to you in the comfort of your home, break down the stress, bring down the barriers, break down the stigma. You can work one-on-one with a recovery coach, peer to peer. That allows you to still have the things that you need in life, but still access the help that you need through our programs virtually, which also gives you the support of a recovery coach through the duration of each one of the programs, which is either the 6 or the 12. Um, I also wanted to give something really special when they transitioned out of the 30 or the 90. So I partnered up with a company in Ottawa called Firebox Glass. These are our journey bracelets, and Simone and Susan. Susan's visually impaired and a person with autism, and she hand makes every single one of our beads and puts these bracelets together. So when you transition out of the 30, I send you one of these from Susan. So I love supporting the visually impaired and person with autism. Ashley works with them at KACL, and it's really special when you see Susan and she calls and she says, Jay, we're helping people. They get to wear our bracelets. We're helping them stay on the road to recovery. And so that dream is absolutely amazing because it's a year now, and people are understanding who we are, and you know, so I've presented it to jails and Ontario Works and the government, and you know, that's where I get all the kickback of where's your schooling and where's this, and you know, so I'm breaking through that barrier of, hey, listen, we're lived experience peer-to-peer recovery coaches. My schooling is, I had 20 years of absolute hell shit in a handbag. You know, tried committing suicide on 3 attempts. You know, here I am coming up on for 15 years. That's my schooling. My schooling
I
is it.
wonder, I wonder if you got just an associate's, like in arts and science, and kind of majored besides your prerequisites like psychology and sociology, if that would be enough for them.
So I do actually have to. I have trauma. So I tried going to school after being a chef because I was like, oh man, I don't want to be a chef. This is like hell, right? Because I was at the bottom and I was like, and I was like, this is. I don't want to be a So I was like, I'm gonna go save the world, kind of like you. I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
school, social worker, and I'm gonna do this. And then I go in there like it's 4 years of school, and I'm like, excuse me, what? And so, anyways, I did 2 courses out of these 16 or something that I had to do. Two of them, early childhood trauma and abuse, and something else it's called. So anyways, in the interviews, I say, well, I did try and do social work, and I did get 2 courses. So I did do some schooling with a whack of lived experience. So so that brings us to Empower to Recover, which is another dream that I had in
So tell
2000.
me about that.
Yeah, so in 2013, I was in Fort McMurray, and I had the fortune of being a TEDx speaker, and
Okay, sorry. But that reminds me of something you had said earlier, and I wanted to ask you, and I didn't want to interrupt. When you were traveling and being a motivational speaker, did you get paid for that?
yeah, I charged for that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, charged for my speech. So what's your? I'll tell you quick.
Then how did people find you to get to ask you to speak?
I was massively online. So I've been online since I was 6 months into this thing, and I just started building the brand Chef Recovery organically by myself. And then I just would email people. I would reach out to people on social media. Hey, listen, you looking for a motivational speaker? Hey, listen, you looking
So
for
you
this? Hey,
marketed yourself.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But the story about getting paid. So I was in treatment, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to go speak? We'll pay you $50." And I was like,
Wow.
$50 for me to
Hmm.
speak? What? Excuse me? What? They're like, yeah, you got to go to the church, go speak. And I'm like, okay. So I go to the church. I'm like, I wonder if I'm at the right church. Nobody's here. It's been half an hour. Why? What is it like? So my brain started going like, what's going on? Well, I'm in the wrong spot, and I was, so I just stopped and I went, well, why don't you just take the opportunity and just speak in front of this church, even though there's no people here, to hone your own craft. This is giving you the opportunity to be the best version of you. You don't need people, Jay. So I stood there and told my story in front of this church for 45 minutes. I went back to the treatment center and said, hey, I went to the church. There was nobody there. I just spoke my story to nobody. They're like, oh, yeah.
There.
Yeah, nobody came. They're like, yeah, we forgot to tell you it was canceled.
Oh my gosh.
Like, but here's your $50. And they gave me the $50. And I was like, interesting. So I went from $50 to then charging $100 to then charging $250, then charging 500, then 1,000, then 3,000, and now it's $5,000. So, but that's where that $50 started. Was like, okay, this is interesting, right? So then I was like, hey, I could be a motivational speaker, and I can go tell my story, and I can get booked, and I can hype up the room, and I can bring in the chef recovery stuff, and that's what I do. So then Empower to Recover becomes born.
So are you still a chef?
I chef on the side.
Okay.
I have a
Like
real
private
itch.
stuff?
Yeah, private stuff, but I have a real itch to get back in the kitchen now that I closed my other business. And I got the hype stuff going, and I want to introduce coaching into different places, like the kitchen really needs it, and camp work, and the nutrition business I have. So I have a whole bunch of things going, but I'm like, I want to get back into chefing every day. It's in my blood. I'm a chef. I want to,
Right.
so
Right.
I'm going to start doing it again. But I would do, when I was motivationally speaking, I'd do live cooking shows right on the stage, talking about my story. I was starting to
That's
create
what I was
food.
just going to ask you if you could combine them.
Yeah, I started creating food that matched up with like grilled powerless trout, forever sobering, spicy shrimp slaw. What was the other? Anyways, there's a whole bunch of them. I had a cookbook and or a cookbook I was working on that I couldn't get finished, and all these things, yeah, an entrepreneur, always doing something.
I have
Um,
like 5 things going on at once too. I get it.
yeah. So then the dream, and when I did the TEDx talk and in front of all these people, I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool to have the TEDx of recovery? Wouldn't it be cool to have a motivational live tour go across Canada? Wouldn't it be cool to have a mental health tour go across Canada, Empower to Recover? Now that didn't get born till March of this year. Um, and the reason it got sparked was because of Bonnie Henry in BC saying that safe supply, or saying that abstinence-based programs aren't viable coming off of drugs. Whereas harm reduction and safe supply, and there's a place for harm reduction, there's a place for safe supply, there's a place for everything in the world. There is. I'm not going to be a guy that points a finger at anything, because there's a place for everything. There's a reason why the world's in the state it's in today, because there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's time to It's time to launch this mental health platform and try and get across Canada and share our story of us people that us people that are abstinent based, standing up for abstinent based programs. So it's bringing awareness around abstinent based programs and peer to peer recovery coaches, because in Canada we don't get funded. So everything that I do is my own money, or people that are coming into the hype, it's reinvested back in. So I don't get funding for coaching because I don't have schooling, and I'm not classified as a treatment center. I'm not classified as any of that stuff. So for me and the group of people that I've put together, um, we've wanted to do this. We were going to do it November 19th, but I couldn't get some speakers that I wanted. So it's a full day event with vendors, speakers, live podcast coming from the show. Um, and speakers in recovery. We're going to do a pitch a recovery business because I'm a real entrepreneur. So I want somebody recovering from whatever they're recovering from. It just doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. I want them to pitch their business, and we want to give them a $5,000 scholarship through Sober Biz Babe to help them with their website, their
Through
market
what?
for their business. So
No, I
everybody,
said through what? You said through something.
yeah, through a scholarship.
Okay.
So we want to give a $5,000 scholarship, which will go through Brooke at Sober Biz Babe because she does all the marketing, all the website design, all the um, SEO, all that stuff, right? So it'll go through her so that we can help them actually get online and get a presence in the world of trying to run a business online if that's what you're choosing to do. We want to do a pitcher recovery speaker, so somebody that's in recovery, recovering from whatever they are, that's never spoke before to tell their story, and then a pitcher recovery band or singer that will close the event out singing about recovery or whatever they're recovering from. And then speakers that are in recovery. That's the event. It's a full day. We got the Anvil Center booked in New Westminster for May 27th, 2023. We do have, if you go to www.empowertorecover.com, we do have, I call them MVPs because everybody's important to me. The word sponsorship, I don't really, that's what you can relate it to, but I'd rather just call you an MVP. That's how I like things. So we have MVP packages from the platinum to the gold to the silver to the bronze, where you can get in to get behind us and support us. We have a vision to do 10 cities all across Canada, to bring awareness around abstinence-based programs and peer-to-peer recovery coaches, and what peer-to-peer lived experience recovery coaches bring to the world and how we can help people. We do have some people from the US that are already intertwined with us. Tickets are on sale right now at Ticketmaster or at www.empowertorecover.com. Yeah, dreams come true.
I like that. I like that. And I like it that people are going to hear this, and maybe that'll give them some hope too. That's the whole point of life struggles, um, is to I always find somebody that has a different life struggle, and they're all different. It doesn't matter if they're alcohol or drugs or disorders, any kind of mental disorders, physical disorders. I've had everything from somebody that, went out on a date and they were sitting on top of a roof, um, that was supposed to be like apartment buildings, how they'll have rooftops and there's like pools sometimes up there, or there's, seating and whatever. And this one that I interviewed, she just went out with this guy and they were in Boston, and they were really enjoying each other's company, and they were done with dinner and done walking around the city, and she was like, now what? And he's like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And she's like, well, we have a rooftop at my dorms. So long story short, they went there, and on the rooftop was a hammock, and it was it was attached from the chimney to a tree that's on alongside the building. Anyway, she sat down in it, and then he came over and sat down with her. And as he sat down, that broke off the chimney, and the chimney fell on her. Her hit her chest. She is permanently paralyzed from her neck down.
God.
Um, the amazing part of this is she is so, and this was, I think, their sophomore year in college. Yeah. Um, but just started dating, couple dates, and she wasn't even supposed to live, I mean, like I think she flatlined like 3 or 4 times just they had to helicopter, um, just to even get her off the roof because of the fire engine trucks, like they couldn't carry her. They couldn't like carry one of those things,
Jeez, yeah.
uh, a gurney, and they couldn't get up there. So they like had to take the ladder thing and then they had to attach this rope and all this stuff. So it took some time to even get her into the helicopter. Um, but anyway, long story short, she is now in law school and she is wanting to be attorney that fights for the people that are handicapped with that kind of stuff too. Yeah, so and that's the whole point of life struggles is I want people to hear the stories because there's, like her story. I'm sure there's a lot of paraplegic or no, she's the other one. She's more than
Yeah,
para.
it's like a girl that we have involved with Empower to Recover. I branded her as Bionics Babe. So she wasn't a hardcore drug addict or anything. She got a bad batch of dope and had a
Mm.
stroke, and they found her in the garage 18 or 12 hours later, and she lost circulation to her legs, lost both her legs at the age of 30, 2 years ago. And she just came across through TJ to me, and now she's one of our speakers at Empower to Recover. Her name's Bionics Babe, and
Love it.
she's just this amazing person that you know appreciates life more than she's ever appreciated it. And she went through a lot of hard times, and being able to find us, Empower to Recover, and the group of people we have involved. And we don't look any different at her. She's the same person. Doesn't matter to me. I love you just the way you are. I think you're actually way better than most people out there. Um, and she has this newfound um, sparkle in her eyes, smile in her mouth, love in her
She's
heart.
given a purpose.
Yeah, so now she's going to be able to tell her story, and now she's going to be sharing in schools and stuff. And she's got a massive, she's such a beautiful person, talent. Yeah, Bionics Babe.
I
Yeah,
like
she'd
that.
be, she'd be a good one for you
So,
too.
so that's the point of life struggles is to have to because we all have life struggles on a daily basis. But there's so many people that feel alone, like I'm the only one going through this, or I'm the only one that, and so that's why I try to find so many different things so that we reach somebody out there that hears it, that now feels, oh, well, I'm not alone.
That's
Somebody
it.
else had this. And that whoever I'm talking to you, I'm gonna ask you at the end what you would take from everything you went through and give to somebody else. That's what I do. So at the end, there's always like how they conquered whatever they were going through. And that's what helps people. So it's not like we're professionals. And I make sure I say that, this is our opinion. This is our words, our opinion, and everybody's is different. So anyway, and that's what I'd like to ask you. I hope that everything is in the bio that I can share to other people. And is it okay if we share your like Instagram accounts
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. You can
oh,
share. I can email you all that stuff.
okay. Is that how people normally start out getting a hold of you guys?
So yeah, they'll find us online, like www.hypercoverycoach.com. So people will just be,
How did
Googling
they just find that online? Like, how did you get it that far?
because they go to Google, and then they'll put need help with drinking, or need help with whatever, need help. And
So
then,
it'd be in their location.
yeah, and I haven't put any money behind SEO. It's just been organically growing. So I pop up about three or four, where I should be at number one, but I, I don't put into marketing money yet. And But then they just contact us. They get on my website, they see who we are, they see that we're lived experience, they all this stuff, they see my story, they see what we're doing, and then they book a free discovery call, and then we have this conversation. And
Okay.
then they
So to give you a little hint, that won't cost you anything, and maybe somebody's already doing that for you, but to grow my business, one of my businesses, I found out that if every single day, just one time a day, that I go onto Google and I do some kind of update to my site. So my website's on there already, okay, on
yep,
Google, under my business name. So I go to my business name and then I post a new picture that day or a new saying that day. But that keeps you at the top so that when people search, so like right now, I'm number one search when somebody says women's clothing and accessories near me.
nice. That's a good place to be.
Right. But I did that myself by somebody else telling me this trick that if you just once a day take 5 minutes and go to your Google and update something, it can be anything. It can just be a picture of yourself or your
Right, or
wife or
change the hours on the thing or whatever. Yeah,
right.
yeah. I was doing that at the beginning, and you're absolutely right. I noticed I was more. I got away from. Thanks for reminding me about that. Um, I was doing that at the beginning. I was putting pictures on my Google page and I was updating things and I was doing stuff like that. And I noticed I was up higher. I
And
haven't
if
done.
you look at the analytics on your Google, it'll show you, you're down by this
Yeah,
much.
it sends me a thing every month. Shows me every
Yeah,
month that what's
right.
going on, and I'm like, yeah, well, things are low. What's going on? Now I know why things are
That's
low.
all you have to do.
Yeah, great,
That's all you
great.
have to do. And then you'll start being at that top of that list. So when people do put that in. Now I think if they like for me, if they don't put the near me, I think I come up like right because Google still looks for wherever that person's at to begin
Yeah,
with.
yeah. So the SEO that we have set up has
Mhm.
keywords that they type in that bring us
Right.
up. So still organically growing and not putting any money into marketing, but keywords pop up. But you're absolutely, I got to get back on that. That's why also we talked tonight for you to remind me to get back on Google. Just update my thing. That's another reason.
I'll tell you what, I'm learning every single day, every single day.
You
You'll
have to.
find out with your daughter. It's amazing. My youngest son is a junior in college, and he just thinks he knows absolutely everything, everything. And I said, until the day you die, you should be learning something almost every day.
Yeah, you
If you're
should
listening,
be
if you're
teachable.
listening. And it's funny because he calls me for like last night, he called me, he said, remember during the pandemic when I had to stay home and take classes and I was done with them in 2 hours or whatever. And we used to make a snack, but a healthy snack. Do you remember what that was, Mom? And I said, yeah, we mixed vanilla yogurt with cookie dough and then peanut butter. We mixed that and it had a lot of protein in it. We
Yeah.
were working out. He cleaned out one part of the garage and talk about organically working out. Uh, we ordered 2 cases of water. And so those were
It's
used for weights as push-ups, you know,
beauty,
um, hung a bar up there to do pull-ups.
beauty.
Um, out of wood he found around, made a bench.
Wow, that is awesome.
Um, but we couldn't go anywhere. And so he's like, we got to do stuff. He's very, very positive. He's like, we got to do stuff, to keep busy. And of course, a lot of people went to TikTok, and we ended up doing some TikToks together too. Had some fun doing that. But then, his friends wanted to be involved, and then they did FaceTime, and they made I don't know how they figured out how you could take 4 people and make one video when they're at different houses on FaceTime. but
Wow.
somebody somehow recorded it and knew what they were doing in editing, but it was just amazing. Like found stuff to do. And the positive thing we found most in the whole pandemic thing, which I love hearing different stories from people, but he was really, really busy in sports, played basketball and baseball. I was running three businesses, and going to all his sports stuff and whatever. We hardly ever had dinner together as a family. We didn't have time. Everybody was all these different places. So all of a sudden, when you couldn't,
Yeah, you're doing that now.
we started watching movies, together. We started eating dinner together. So we found the positive stuff in it. Um, Not that there wasn't ever a day that you're like, oh my gosh, I'll be so glad when we can get out again, you know, but we weren't going to anytime soon. I don't know how long you guys were, and it's been different all over, but like in our city, it depended on our governor. And we were like shut down for a year, exactly a
Yeah,
year.
yeah, is a belt. I mean, I had one shot or two shots at opening freshwater cuisine throughout the pandemic, but just nothing was happening, and the food industry got hit one of the
Right,
hardest. So in
right.
the processing
Well, I don't
world,
know. I didn't have any business when I reopened. People were still afraid to come out.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying, right? So even for me, I was a guy that had to go buy off. I had to go buy the fish off the indigenous fishers in the communities, and then bring the fish back to my processing facility, and then process the food, then sell it to the marketers, which was Cisco, GFS, or whoever, and then they would take it to the smaller places, right? But I had a problem getting into the communities because I could possibly have COVID and infect the whole entire community.
Right.
So the whole source problem. That's why I went into the mental health world, because there's no shortage of source in the mental health world. Um, there's a shortage of fish sometimes in the world. There's a lot in the lake, but there's you got a problem. So I went into the places that that was the. So you talk about the positive things in the pandemic, which is great to hear, because I had a lot of positive things too. From the aspects of Ashley and I getting in the best shape of our lives,
Sure.
to pivoting into hype, to pivoting and doing programming online, being able to access people help through online, not being able to get into treatment because of these mass wait lists and all these things going on with the pandemic, and couldn't do this, couldn't do that. They were able to ask for help. They were able to access help. They were able to get, the stuff that they needed at that time. Um, the connection I got with my daughter. I got to spend a lot of time with my daughter,
Exactly.
and get to, she got to be with her dad, more than she probably ever had been.
Right.
And we really bonded in a way that I was just like, I love being a dad. I love being a dad. It's just because we didn't have a lot of friends, right? I had to be with her, or we couldn't go to the parks. I had the parks, all these
Right.
things. So it was really just me, because we did 7 on, 7 off. So Julie would have her for 7, I would have her for 7. That's how we did it. Do it.
You
So it's
still do
like,
it that way?
yeah, we're gonna probably move to 14 and 14 right away. If I take I might go to a remote campus, start chefing again.
So do
I
you guys live by each other then? So that
yeah,
she
yeah, I
the
live in
school thing?
yeah. Julie lives right across from the school. I'm about 15 minutes away from the school. So, but yeah, I think we might move to that. I have an itch to get back to cooking. I have an itch, and I just want it back.
So right there in just those little words that you said is another thing that people need to take away from this. And so at the beginning of our interview, we talked about how you started out. And so your mom and dad got divorced, and your dad was in your life just a short amount of time and then decided not to go anywhere else. And then you had a stepfather. Um, you and your ex-wife have chosen the right way to help your child. That I understand that coming from a divorced family is probably the norm now.
Yeah,
Um,
co-parenting. I think co-parenting is
but
the norm. It's just how do you deal with it, and most people don't.
and I think it's important that you do that for the child's mental health and your own. I mean,
Well, I learned,
fighting over shit
yeah,
all the time isn't going to help you, you
I learned
know?
from Ashley. Ashley and her first daughter's dad. Now they've known each other for about 20 years, so they're
Mhm.
and they had to go through a whole bunch of shit to get where they are today. But they have the most phenomenal relationship when it comes to their daughter and the way they treat each other. And so over the course of this, couple of years I've been with Ashley, coming on 3 years, I've been watching this going, man, because it was rocky with Julie and I in the beginning, like everything. Um,
Mhm.
but then we kind of did that switch and went, you know what, we got to put our sides, and it's just about destiny. But through that, it kind of built a relationship with Julie and I on this friends level,
Right.
um, where we respect each other for who each other are. And that's what I saw in Ashley and Darcy, is that they had a respect for each other, and
And that's
that
important.
Shaylin come first, and they all those things. And I was like, man, that is like, there's not a lot of stress around when you're getting along for all the right reasons. There's a lot of stress when you're fighting each other for things you shouldn't be fighting for. Um, so
And
at the end,
and parents, I don't think realize how much kids hear. They think they're in another room, they can't hear what you're talking about, whatever. You know what? They sneak to hear what you're talking about.
and they know how you feel.
And they
So
do.
they
Yep.
know exactly know how you feel. They know exactly the way you feel. So because of the way you feel, then they know that um, there's something going on. So
Right.
because there's something going on, they know something's up. So I know when I know the times that um, we weren't getting along. Destiny knew. Destiny just knows. Like Ash, so Julie and I will go to school events together still. Like, we just do that. Like that's the right thing to do. Destiny is, if I don't have Destiny, I would like to be there. If you don't have Destiny, you can come if you want to come.
Right.
Um, so it's you're absolutely right. It's really important
We have to put our shit aside for our kids
and it's good for your own mental health, like you said.
and your own. And that's what I'm saying. So what good does it do your own mental health if you're just going to fight with somebody? It doesn't accomplish anything. It really doesn't. So yeah, okay. So this has been really good. Um, now can you do that part where I said when I end mine, I always ask if you could give some advice, what would it be? Or
Um, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give is that you have to give yourself a chance, and not to be hard on yourself. Uh, you know, I'm on a journey and I need to be teachable and I need to be able to learn from other people and I need to understand what love, kindness, compassion is to myself, but also other people. I don't need to
love
be in,
that.
I don't need to be in a rush with life because my whole entire using life was a rush. So why am I rushing? Why am I rushing? I don't need, why am I playing Russian roulette?
Right?
I need to learn. Um, I need to learn about myself. I think that's the biggest gift I've ever given to myself, is getting to know who I am, getting to love myself, getting to know all the good things about me. Not saying I'm lonely, because I'm not lonely. The best relationship I have is with myself. And if I don't have a relationship with myself, I'm saying I'm lonely. And lonely just means I want to have somebody else there. And it's great to have somebody else there. Don't get me wrong there, but I love having a relationship with myself because I never feel lonely. I don't feel lonely. Um, and just giving.
That's interesting to me. Um, I feel lonely sometimes, but I think it's not I don't have a problem with myself. I I work so many hours that I don't have the time to I'm not taking the time. Okay. And I have started, so, I'm
So
saying things
self care.
more of that because what happens is, my friends like, they call and they ask me to do stuff. I used to 4 times I'm sorry, with 4 friends, 2 times a year, girlfriends, we would take a trip. And, just because we had kids and we had husbands and, we just didn't have time to do the girl thing. And so we would twice a year take turns planning what kind of trip we were going to take. And it didn't have to be an expensive one. Sometimes it was, only 50 miles away and we rented a cabin and, or sometimes we took tents and we took canoes and, that kind
Nature.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, nature. Well, all of us are into nature, so that's what we always did. But, we always chose different places so we could do hiking and,
That's why
anyway.
I like what's it called? Thermia. So Ashley and I will go to Thermia. It's like you guys might have it there. It's like a full day spa where you can go to the spa. It's got hot tubs, it's got cold tubs, it's got cold splash, it's got marble, it's got hot things to sit in, it's got cold things to sit in. We go, no
That
phones,
cold thing gets me.
but it's good for it's good
It
going from the
is. It
yeah.
is. It is. I do it, but I don't like it.
It's yeah, it's that's where we like to go and it's kind of like a reset spot. So we're able to reset there because it's just like all super quiet and it's just it's yeah and yeah I just I like I have to
So
have a relationship.
the point I was getting to make then was that when I come home from a 12-hour workday or a 16-hour workday, and my husband's in bed already, he's been sleeping for 6 hours already, so I don't have anybody to discuss my day. And it's too late, I'm not going to call my girlfriends and they work, and have to get up in the morning, whatever. So those times I feel lonely, but it's not about anything I'm going through. It's just like, oh, gee, it'd be nice to have somebody to talk to once in a while. But I'm going to tell you something that I've learned. Now, this is totally separate. So if there's something, okay, like the other day was my mom's birthday, and
Yep.
okay, it was her heavenly birthday though.
Oh,
Um, and I couldn't get to the cemetery to take flowers that I wanted to when I wanted to. But all day long, I thought about her as I'm working, she'd just pop into my mind and stuff. And by the end of the day, I mean, I got to do what I needed to do for myself. But by the end of the day, I thought, not one of my kids called and said, "Hey, it's grandma's heavenly birthday. Are you doing okay?" Or, you know, we used to like do a celebration of her life, every year on that. We quit doing that during the pandemic, so we didn't go back to it. That's one of the negative things. But anyway, so like that day, at the end of the day, it wasn't too late. It was like 8:30 when I got home. But my husband was going to work late, so he wasn't there. And he never once that day, called me and said, "Hey, how you doing? I know this is, the anniversary of your mom's." And um, I feel sorry for myself. I tried calling 3 friends just to talk to him because I just was really, really missing her that day.
totally.
And everybody was busy. And no, I got a lesson out of it. Like nobody would answer the phone. I got all the voicemails. Nobody called me back. And I cried and then I prayed. And when I prayed, I got this peace over me. And the message I got was there was nobody there because you were going to the wrong person. That's the message I got. Now, some people wouldn't, they don't have those kind of beliefs, and that's okay. But that's the message I got. And I went, wow, I'm so glad I got that message.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I got a different message that, hey, I'm right here. You can talk to me. So I
That's
did.
that's exactly that's exactly it. I live in my grandfather's in my grandfather's apartment.
Do ya?
I live in his bedroom. So I live in his place. That's where he passed away when he was 2018. I live here. So I'm a believer. He's still around here.
Yeah.
My grandma passed away on that couch over there. So um,
Well, I don't know, but that night there was a glow ball that came down the roof and through the window and out to the car and through that window and then disappeared. And I have no idea what it was.
I'm
But it
telling
was
you,
but it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird seeing it.
I'll wake up in the morning and the kitchen lights are on and I turn every light off. I'll wake up and the fan's on. Like, how does this stuff get? When I first moved in here, I was, what's going on? I just went, that's probably them. Why? How else? And where else? And when would it come on? I don't know, and I don't want to think about it too much. But thank you for being around and telling me you're here because I love you guys still.
Yeah,
That's
see, that stuff doesn't scare me either. My mom actually passed away on my son's second birthday, my youngest. And I don't want to say that she had favorites, but I had a brother that died of SIDS when he was 18 months old. And apparently, my youngest looked just like him. So when mom saw, she was with me, when I had him. And when she saw him, she took an immediate, like, this clingy thing to him. And I mean, the first thing she said to me was, he looks so much like Michael. But she never saved any pictures of Michael. So I didn't remember what he looked like. So, but she told me that my youngest and looked just like Michael. And she made a point every single night to come over at bedtime and rock him. I didn't get to rock my own baby to sleep at night. And she just showed up. She didn't ask or nothing. She just showed up and walked through the door and she knew what time I put him to bed, and that's when she showed up. And so anyway, she passed away on his second birthday. So, and he was too young for me. I mean, she did ask me to bring him up to the hospital. And I tried, well, I had his other grandma bring him up because I never left the hospital. But she brought him up, and as soon as he saw all the machines connected to her, he like started crying. And then my mom said, "No, take him away. I don't want this." And he was too young to remember, and he doesn't remember her. But here's what happened when he was 5 years old. He comes into my bedroom in the middle of the night and he says, "Mom," kept shaking me, "Mom." I'm like, "What? What's going on?" He wasn't crying. He said, "Would you go tell that lady in my bedroom to quit waking me up or to talk to me if she's going to sit there in that chair?" I'm like, "What?" And I had no idea. I thought he was like sleep talking. But he's like, "Mom, please come tell her. It's bugging me." He didn't say bugging. He said it's starting to scare me because she wouldn't talk. So I went in there, and it's so funny because the dog followed me, and apparently they can see. And as soon as the dog got in the bedroom, started barking at the chair. So the only thing I could think of with what he was telling me was it has to be mom because she sat in that chair and rocked him every night. So she's probably there every night watching over him. And, I didn't know about it, whatever. Why she made herself known, I don't know. But so I just sat down and had a conversation with her. And I said, "Look, I can see why you're wanting to make sure he's okay. And it's okay with me if you come in here and visit, but don't scare him. Either don't make yourself known that you're there, or when he says, 'Talk to me,' then talk to him." And my
yeah.
son looked at me and he said, "Do you believe that?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what else it could be, but so you just tell her what you want, but don't be mean." And so, it is what it is. Some people would call me crazy, but
No, absolutely not. That's actually real life, and
and I don't think it's not like haunting. It's not scary. It's
it's
actually kind of a good feeling.
yeah, that their spirit is always still around us, helping us get through life.
Yep. So, okay, one more question then for the end, and that is, what has been your biggest life struggle
Myself.
yourself?
Yeah, my biggest life struggle was, and still is to this day, getting to uh, be okay with Jay. So I'm okay with Jay. I love Jay, but Jay's always got to work on himself. So Jay's always got to learn. He's got to be humble. He's got to listen. He's got to be open. He's got to have a kind heart. He's got to have a kind heart for himself and other people, compassion. There's a prayer that I came up with at 4 months in recovery, um, when I said I wanted to leave treatment. And
Remember the prayer?
oh, yeah, it's on my wall. God, give me the strength, courage, hope, and faith. Keep believing in me, trusting in me, having faith in me. Keep loving and caring about me unconditionally. Give me patience, tolerance, understanding, forgiveness, compassion, and acceptance of other people's struggles along with my own. Let me love myself, like myself, care about myself enough to move forward in a positive direction. Let me be comfortable with who I am and what I'm doing. Let me live in the day, the moment, to live on life's terms. My Lord, I turn my will and my life over the care of you today and guide me in my recovery. Never give up. Keep living the dream. That came out of me.
Wow.
And I woke up in the morning, and for the first time in my life at 4 months, I saw a smile out of the corner of my mouth. Uh, and that was when I really truly started working on myself. I've said that prayer from 4 months on. I say it every morning: God, please give me these things. And I say thank you at the end of the day for all those things. And I do. I got to have tolerance for myself, for other people. I got to have compassion and kindness. I got to be forgiveness of myself. I got to give forgiveness to other people. I got to love myself. Care about myself. I got to get to know myself. I got to get to know other people. So it's that prayer has been very powerful in me being okay with me.
See, now I think that it's really important, and I'm sorry that it's not in those 12 steps because I just personally feel like we need to forgive ourselves before we can forgive others.
So first thing you have to do, and that's where those programs do it backwards.
Yeah,
So you have to forgive yourself in order to actually forgive other people. You can't go out and forgive other people because then that gives you the excuse to go do what you need to do. Because all you're doing, if whatever kind of addiction you have, you're just looking for an excuse to do it. You're just looking for it. That's why in the 6 sessions is thinking, thoughts, patterns, triggers, series of events, right? So the series of event is I'm going to land myself in any situation. So day, time, month, year, mom's anniversary. Nobody called me. That's why I felt that way, right? I called. Nobody called me back. My kid, right? Boom. That's a series of events. That's a date. That's a thing that's in your mind. That's what happens. It's
Mhm.
like pause, post-acute withdrawal syndrome, which means that you go through withdrawal periods throughout your recovery, whatever you're recovering from. I didn't know I was dealing with that for 10 years. I dealt with that until I tried taking my life at 10 years in recovery. Tried hanging myself. But so I got introduced to AC11. I'm sure you've heard of AC11, cat's claw from the rainforest. So it helps on a DNA level. So we have damaged cells, right? I didn't know this. I
Right.
can't cut myself open and see all the damaged cells. Like I calculated, hi, how many cells are dead? I don't know. But I was getting triggered from 2 weeks before Christmas to 2 weeks after my February 11th, 2008 date. That would be the worst time in every single year. And I never understood why. And I kept saying to myself, it's always going to be like this. This is how it is. Get ready for it. You're going to go into depression. This is how you're going to feel. You're not going to feel good. It's going to be a shitty Christmas. Life sucks. You suck. Fuck, it all sucks. That's
And
how
then
it
it
goes.
does.
Right. But once I understood what pause was, post acute
Mhm.
withdrawal syndrome, and that's when I could identify and be aware of what was going on. And then I started taking AC11 in liquid form, which is highly absorbable. So I know that it's getting to me. For some reason or other in 2019, I was like, when is the shoe going to drop? Why do I feel better? And ever since 2019, I haven't had that period of time through that time. I don't every year, I'm not telling you every year is a good year, but it's not like that.
Right.
um, and I still take AC11 to this day.
Good for you. Okay.
That was
Well,
a good chat.
yeah, thank you so much. I
You're
really
welcome.
enjoyed it. And I will probably, I'm going to edit
Yep.
um,
And
Well,
then
let's go
I'll
on.
send you my social stuff and then my websites and all that stuff. People can find us.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you so much for sharing everything that you have with us. I think you've given some really good information out there for people. Um, the stuff that how to contact you and all that, I will be putting in the description, the podcast, as soon as I get it from you, all of it. I just want to thank you so much for what you're doing for other people and the people that you have working with you that are doing for others. We need so many more people like that in the world. So I really appreciate you. And we will probably hear yours next Wednesday.
Nice.